Hello, friends. Welcome to the Career Guru podcast. I am your host, Steve Yanovsky. What a glorious day it is to start your path in a new career. Doors are opening here at the Boston Career Institute even as we speak. And I'm here holding the key for you. So tune in, stay sharp, and enjoy yourself. This is going to be great. Hashtag Let's Career Up. Before I get started today with our last installment of Human Anatomy and Medical Terminology, I wanted to introduce you to one of your former classmates, so to speak. She was a few classes before you. She has a very unique story that I wanted to share with the rest of you out there. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce you to Lynnit Sotomayor. She is a graduate of the program, a successful graduate. And she has gone through some interesting steps to get to where she is. So, Lynnit, take a moment to introduce yourself to the people out here, and let's talk a little bit about your story, okay?
Hello, everyone. I'm Lynnit Sotomayor. So I started last year, February, joined the class, really excited. As many of you guys know, going into this, you guys don't really know what to expect with Steve and the school and the hospitals and all that good stuff. But just going through the motion, I ended up really enjoying the class. As Steve mentioned, all of the processes that I was going through and all the motions that I was going through as well. So I started, like I said, in February. And what I did was really key in on what Steve was saying about really getting a head start of your work hours. So you guys need I think it's 400 work hours to be signed off for the certificate. So Steve, I would assume that he mentions in class every day that you guys are on that, to send him your resume. I did that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. I think I got it back in like 2 days maybe. And he said, and sure enough, I put it on Indeed. 3 hospitals actually got back to me. One hospital was immediate the next day. And then 2 others followed after that. When I looked at all the hospitals, took into consideration, the location and, what would be more convenient for me in terms of travel time versus, the pay. So I ended up landing a job that was 12 minutes away from my house, which has been very convenient, and I'm still there. With that being said, it was something that I definitely paid attention to Steve when he was showing the videos on how to interview, of just really paying attention to when you go to the interviews, how they, ask the questions. A lot of hospitals that I've had interviews with, they do a lot of different things. Some will show you the actual department. Others kind of just key in on who you are as an individual and, really focus on if you are a best fit for their department and so on and so forth. It was one of those situations where, like I said, I made the decision to choose a hospital that was close. I am 12 minutes away, so I'm in the South Coast area, right near Fall River and Swansea. So there is a hospital in Fall River that I chose to stay at. They are a hands-on hospital. That was one of the things that the manager emphasized in the email reaching out to me. So what they do is really pay attention to, the coaching and the teaching and all that good stuff. So some hospitals will put that out there and other hospitals won't say that at first, but you have a year to get your certificate, and just making sure that you know all the areas of the department.
Let me back up just a little bit, Lynnit. Let's, I'm glad we sort of jumped right in and talking about your employment history. Let's talk a little bit about you, how you joined the class, and a little bit about you, if you don't mind, from a standpoint of personal situation. So you came here, you were a mom already at the time, correct? If I may disclose a little bit of information, you were already on the way of having your second baby, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so now you're a happy mommy of 2, and you enrolled in a class with all the issues that comes with motherhood and raising children and being able to get through the class. Yes, you did pay attention specifically to when I was talking to all of my students about sending me your resume and getting started on working as soon as possible, so as not to participate in clinical internships, which are free, and it's much better to just get a job and get moving with that. So yeah, I got your resume. We worked it over together. and you submitted it to various employers. I just want people to understand so we're not jumping through anything. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to go to school in your particular situation. What gave you the confidence to actually just start applying for work and actually just going out to interview? Because these are significant steps that frighten a lot of people. Tell me what gave you that push and the confidence to actually just go and do it. So start with a little bit of your personal situation, what it's like to be a parent, adult learner. What is the success that you have experienced personally?
I started before going into this course. I actually was a youth development teen director at the YMCA in Boston. So completely different from being in a hospital setting. The reason why I made a decision to choose healthcare was because of the security of knowing for the fact that, most hospitals are 24 hours. In the state that we're in now, healthcare providers are obviously in need, regardless of what department you're in. A hospital needs to run and they need people. So those were the big factors. As Steve mentioned, I just had my daughter 2 years ago, actually. Wow, time is flying. Making this decision, I found out that I was going to have my second child. So a lot was kind of riding on, what to do. A lot of pressure of, am I going to be able to focus? Am I going to be able to manage a whole bunch of stuff on my plate? There was a point in time where I did fall off. I was taking the class in the mornings, but the hospital that I ended up going to needed me to train during the days. So that definitely shifted my focus because I was consistently there and then fell off a little bit. Thank goodness for Steve, just making sure to check in and say, hey, what's going on? Just make sure you're doing your quizzes, and having, an individual like Steve to say, hey, I get that, things are happening, but, want to make sure that, you push through and get through this. I personally am not a school person. Did the college thing, wasn't my thing. I'm a very hands-on person. So actually staying in a college course and, doing the 2-year or 4-year just wasn't my thing. As well as I never had really an instructor or a professor that was very motivated and involved in their students. So when having an instructor like Steve, that actually made me feel more confident to push through and to get through the program because, if he is, saying, I want you to, get through this, whatever you need, reach out. It really made me feel like, okay, like I can do something, if this individual is, here and doesn't know me from a hole in the wall, but is just saying like, you got this, let's get through this, whatever you need. I'm here. That really put stamp in, me pushing through and getting through. So the times that I had with my crazy schedule, being pregnant and dealing with, my daughter, definitely just, made the time. So if it was, at 12 o'clock in the morning, I'm saying, okay, I'm up, I might as well just, do a quiz or two. I was doing it. I ended up taking my certificate while I was on maternity leave back in December, and I passed that the first time.
So by certificate, Lynnit, you're talking about the national certification.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about that a little bit. How did you prepare for that? What were some of the things? I know you addressed some of the techniques that you employed. Like, for example, you just said, hey, it's 12 o'clock in the morning or 12 o'clock at night, whichever way you want to look at it. It's 12 a.m. I'm up. I may as well do some quizzes. So talk a little bit about your technique and how that helped you pass the exam.
So because of the fact that I was working, a lot of the things that we were going in class, kind of just hand in hand, muscle memory. So the things that we were going through, I would then apply that to what I was doing at work, which was extremely helpful. I will say if I did not have the job, and I was just doing it solely based on what I was doing in class, I probably, let me take a step back. I don't know what would have been the outcome if I didn't work. I'm always going to, have faith and, everything that I do, with my best foot forward. But having a job was definitely helpful. Like I said, just in terms of knowing what I was reading and applying the things that I remember from class. It is a lot to go back to look at the recordings from class because, they are lengthy. But what I did was I took all of the practice quizzes that Steve had put on for each week. I looked at those. A lot of the ones that I felt like I needed to kind of go back on, I kind of just went through each section and just pretty much just whatever I was doing, like I said, at work, I was reviewing with the quizzes as well as doing the quizzes multiple times. And so that's how I ended up just really preparing for it. I gave myself 6 weeks when I applied and put in the application. So that gave me plenty of time to really, dive in and just review everything.
Tell us a little bit about that, the element that when we first discussed your resume and then you applied for a job, and what gave you that push to and the confidence to succeed in that interview? What propelled you forward? What was driving you? What was motivating you to achieve and accomplish for yourself?
My first class, when I started, I ended up with all of the do's and the don'ts and the chemicals and how deadly they are. And at first I was like, okay, not really sure if I want to go into this field, knowing for the fact I'm going to be around all of this stuff. But I stuck it out because, it was interesting. I am someone who, as I have children, but even before, I like cleaning. I like to make sure that things are thorough. So just kind of looking at it in a perspective of your family member or you are going to have surgery, how would you want the instruments that they're going to use? How would you want them to be prepared? And so just looking at that, I definitely, as I had the interview and when I was going around in the department, it definitely put a lot of things in perspective because, it's a lot of organizational skills, and you don't necessarily have to be in healthcare to have those skills. I sure enough didn't come from a healthcare background, but I had a lot of organizational skills dealing with the occupation that I had before. And so also too, when having the interview, they had an educator, which I thought was pretty cool because what the educator does is that they make sure that everything that comes into the department, you need to make sure that, you are going through the IFUs and making sure that you're using or cleaning or, removing, all of that good stuff by what the manufacturer is saying, as well as making sure that you're doing things pretty much like by the book, quote unquote, as well as making sure that you're doing the things in a safe manner. And so for the educator to be there and making sure that, in the department, everything is, up to par, I thought was pretty cool because we could go to the educator and say, hey, I noticed that, this is going on. And, I noticed that we're getting these and, so on and so forth. And so there's multiple people that you can go to make sure that the department runs smooth. Because I don't know how many of you have healthcare background, but dealing with OR is a different, it's a different realm. I think in my first 3 months, I don't know how many times I've gotten yelled at, cussed out and everything else. And I had to have some tough skin just to kind of say, okay, like I get it. Someone's life is on the bed and they have to move in a timely manner. They disclosed all of that in the interview just to make it very clear because it's not something where, it's housekeeping or you're working at the gift shop. It's a lot. And when you have doctors that are, demanding things to be turned over, you are definitely running around frantic, trying to make sure that in the timely manner, again, things are being brought down to decon, going through the process and then going out to be, sterilized and put on the shelf and put back upstairs. It's a lot. And again, they disclosed all of this. And I was like, okay, right on. I like somewhat constructive chaos. So that was something that really motivated me to say, okay, let's give it a try and see how it is. And I've been there now for a year, so it's going good.
Excellent. And how are you liking it? Do you find this job rewarding personally for yourself?
Yes, I actually, after getting the certificate, knowing for the fact that I could actually, put my mind to something and actually pass the exam, that was rewarding. I told myself that I wanted to take it to the next level and be certified and, everything else that there is to offer and see where the wind blows with that. Just really looking at how my day goes and, a lot of problem solving, which I really enjoy to the point where a lot of people don't like decon. I didn't think I was going to like decon because when I started, I was pregnant. So having to do all of that and be gowned up and being very uncomfortable. I was not a fan, but coming back from maternity leave, I'm always offering to go into decon. I actually really enjoy being in there. So every time I go into work, I'm like, if you need me to go in there, it's fine. And they're like, no, Lynnit, it's all right. And I'm like, I'm just saying, I can switch out with someone. It definitely is rewarding. Also, too, because of the fact that I got my certificate, there has been more opportunities for me as well. Steve, I don't know if you want me to go into the other interviews that I've had.
The floor is yours. You can tell us anything you like, because everything you want to say is pertinent to everybody else who's in class. So they can certainly listen to this video again and again, and it'll help them out in their journey regardless. So please, by all means.
Okay. So yes, so coming back from maternity leave, I did make the decision that I was going to try and relocate. So again, I'm in the South Coast area, and my crazy self was thinking of going towards Boston. And I'm pretty sure, as you know, Steve has mentioned that Boston is where the money is at. So I had 3, 4, 5 maybe interviews, and that was just solely because I passed the exam. Wasn't sure what that looked like. I landed actually 2 positions, one at Boston Medical Center, and I was really excited to be a part of that team. Just unfortunately, with my 2 kids, I wasn't able to take on that position. One thing I really enjoyed about BMC is the difference between my hospital and that hospital is they have Tech 1, Tech 2, Tech 3. They have a Tech 4 endoscopy and a whole bunch of other stuff. And of course, BMC is a bigger hospital, they're trauma. So they're going to have a multitude of different types of techs for different areas. One of the things that the managers were mentioning is that they have a trauma team. So if someone is coming from a helicopter, or if it was a stabbing, shooting, whatever the case may be, they were in a terrible accident, they need surgery, as soon as possible. They have a trauma team. And so what you do is typically, it's roughly what they were explaining to me was that you'll see the same cases. So you'll know exactly what trays to pull, what to put on the case, and you actually are interacting with the OR staff and the patient versus my hospital. We interact with the OR staff, but we don't interact with the patients, as well as we all are just standard techs. I know our manager is trying to change that. But that was one of the things that really intrigued me about BMC is that you have room to grow. Not saying that I don't have room to grow over my hospital because I am getting experience being there. They are all for, the education again, making sure that their techs know obviously what they're doing. Everything is always growing and things are changing. So they're making sure that their techs are up to par with that. I also had an interview and a job offer for Morton Hospital. The hours were going to be a lot better. Typically, your hours for the evening are 3 to 11:30 because of the fact that they are on a lower scale of surgeries. Morton Hospital, their hours were 1 to 9:30, which was going to be perfect, but unfortunately, again, couldn't do it because of childcare issues. What they explained to me was they stop, I think, at a hard 5:30. I think they only have 5 operating rooms. They don't see a lot of cases. I think the most that they see is maybe 20, where BMC, they see about 100. And my hospital, we were seeing about between 20 and 30. Now we're probably seeing like 40, 50 because a lot of our doctors are running later. So it was, again, a hard decision to decline those positions. But I realized that with me getting my certification, a lot of doors opened up. I believe I had another a job offer for another hospital. I forget what it was. But yeah, it's just, like I said, knowing for the fact that I got my certification, knowing for the fact that, I put myself out there and, hospitals wanted me and I didn't have much experience, but it was based on, me as an individual and me as someone who they felt like would be a great fit going into their department was a big key factor.
Excellent. That's lovely. Well, that sounds great. What is it that I know you'd mentioned that you enjoy or you like working in decontamination area. Tell us a little bit about what you enjoy about the field as a whole.
Just knowing for the fact that you're contributing to the patient and, the overall results is very rewarding. I know oftentimes when I see cases and then they have my name on it from the trays that I have wrapped, I'm like, oh, they're going to use that. Or, oh, I'm going to bring this case up because, OR just got called in for an emergency and now I have to go pick the case and personally give it to, the nurses. So it's very rewarding in that aspect, knowing, like I said, that you are contributing to the success of the patient.
Let me ask you another quick question, if I may. So I know you had mentioned in the beginning that college wasn't quite your thing. What about now? Do you think this particular experience has shifted your thinking a little bit, that maybe if something else comes up that may put you in a different realm of both holding a degree or shifting into a slightly more hands-on field where you can make a lot more money, such as nursing or something similar, would you feel more comfortable going back to school, having what you have now and having been able to pass the national boards exam in sterile processing, and that you indicated you will try to pass other exams as well, which is great. And I'm here to support you in that as well. So what do you think? Do you think this experience, this relearning how to learn again in this particular field, is it giving you any more empowerment? Does that empower you more to pursue other forms of education?
Yes. So I will be very honest with all of you guys. I have noticed that going into this field is very much overlooked. I think the problem is that people in general in a hospital don't realize that if there is no sterile processing, then the hospital does not run. And when they say that, sterile processing is the heart of the hospital, that's exactly, it's very true to the meeting. And so having that certification under my belt, I definitely have considered, like I said, taking the other certifications as well as looking into other departments because of the fact that I have that experience, of sterile processing, surgical tech, scrub tech, if you will. But there has been other departments that I've looked at as well. And in getting my certification was one of those things where I was really excited that I got it, but felt like it wasn't necessarily a big deal because when you get your nursing, degree, it's a big deal. You have your pinning ceremony and everything else. And at one point I was just like, oh, it's not really a big deal. But when I had my interview at Morton Hospital, I realized that if I remember correctly, they are in a system where they were hiring individuals who didn't have their certification versus individuals who did have their certification. And I think that it's if you have your certification, you get a little bit more money. But I think what I gathered from that was that you took the time to get the education, you took the time to, really key in on being successful and learning about, the department. So a lot of places were looking at it as a standpoint of, okay, so you're willing and able to learn and grow because this field is growing and they're always changing with, say that they're using a tray or, instruments, and they say that they've been using it for 30 years. Someone's reevaluating that. And then they say, you know what? Well, we were using this for 30 years now. Now here's something that's new and improved. And now you're going to have education on it. And so with that being said, it was a really, really good thing that I stuck to it. I stuck with it with everything going on in my life. And I wholeheartedly will be continuing my education, whether it's, becoming a nurse or something else. I know that in most of my interviews, which was very surprising to me in this field, I did have a few managers saying that they can see me as a leader, which surprised me because I'm like, it's the health field and, there's a lot to it. But for, individuals to see my character and see the potential of becoming a manager, some type of, leadership position was really motivating to just kind of stick with it and see where the wind blows with it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lynnit. I think this is wonderful for our students to hear. So I really appreciate you coming here today and helping to inspire the next group of people going out there and doing things by the numbers. I want to tell other people here in class that we do have your student who is in class with you, who did exactly what Lynnit is doing. And I don't want to throw her under the bus, but she did exactly that, and she is working, and she's accepting more and more responsibilities as the day goes on. And the folks at the hospital where she works, they have trust and faith in her to even give her supervisory training while she is there. Everything can happen for you. So start early. As soon as possible, send me your resumes. Let's talk about employment. Let's talk about career growth and interviewing and so on and so forth. And I'm here to support you. And I want you to succeed for personal reasons, because I'd like to see my students succeed. I want you to be happy. I want you to be financially secure. And of course, for selfish reasons, where I know that when you succeed, you will send people to this program so they can be where you are and join in on the great things happening within this field. As Lynnit mentioned during the conversation, that it is somewhat overlooked, but people are beginning to realize it. As I mentioned to you before, surgeries make up 60% of revenue collected in the hospital, and you are responsible for all that taking place. 60% of all revenue. So if you take all other departments, they're all very important. You take things like emergency departments, you take the labor and delivery, all these things which bring patients in, clients in. But the business end of the hospital functions around mostly the operating room. That's where the magic happens. And this is where you are. And as Lynnit mentioned about some of the hospitals who are beginning to include the sterile processing technicians, I know Lynnit mentioned the Boston Medical Center, for example. They're trying to push the sterile processing department into the realm of the perioperative team, so you don't feel quite so remote, so you feel connected. So the quality of the output of the work improves because you're part of that team, not just somebody working in some basement of the hospital or remote location in the hospital where the instruments are. No, you're part of that team. You're a major part of that team, and without you, nothing happens. So just keep that in mind. Lynnit, thank you so much. You're welcome to come back anytime to talk to us and stay in touch with me. Let me know if I can help you and support you. Thanks again. Truly appreciate you being here. Very proud of you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I just want to say one thing before I leave. Really take advantage of Steve and his resources because they definitely get you far. I did want to mention also just how powerful, Steve is, in this realm of this field. I have a coworker who didn't take the class at all, but Steve has multiple videos on YouTube. So he came across Steve's videos and he took his exam this week. And because he was listening to Steve, and again, not one of Steve's students, but because of the fact that Steve has a whole bunch of content out there, he passed his exam with the help of those videos. So a proven fact that what Steve is giving you guys works. If I didn't listen to Steve and I was just kind of like, oh, I'll get a job whenever I want to put it out there, I want to be, able to pay for my house. But B, more importantly, I wouldn't have opened up all of these opportunities that I've had come so far. So please don't hesitate to reach out to him at all. Definitely will tell you 10 o'clock p.m. is the cutoff time to reach out to me. But in the middle of the night and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out, reach out to him, not in the middle of the night, but reach out to him and just say, hey, I need, some guidance. And for sure, he will definitely support you guys. So just know that he is there for you for your success.
Wow, thank you. It's much better than any shameless self-promotion that I could come up with. Thank you, Lynnit. That was super. I appreciate that. And it's all true. I am here for you. I hope you found this as stimulating and enjoyable as I did. I am truly cheering for every single one of you. Lynnit did a great job. I got to tell you, I have more students, a lot of students who have already taken every exam that HSPA has to offer. They have 4 certifications. I have students making significant amounts of money as they have become managers, supervisors. And when I say significant money, I am talking upwards of $100,000, in some cases above $100,000 a year. I mean, that didn't happen overnight. It happened over a period of some years. But once again, I want to tell you, these numbers are within your reach. All you need now is to stay focused and pass the certification exam, and you will succeed. Well, friends and aspiring career gurus, this was fun. Thank you for tuning in. I feel enlightened, I feel empowered, and I'm feeling grateful that we spend time with you. For more information about Boston Career Institute, please visit our website, bostoncareer.org. Boston Career Institute has 3 campuses located in Brookline, Massachusetts, Malden, Massachusetts, and Lowell, Massachusetts. Call our toll-free number 888-383-6058. For questions, comments, and/or information about our podcast, email me at thecareerguru@bostoncareer.org. The Career Guru podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website, bostoncareer.org, or wherever you stream your podcast. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your rating and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by PodPro Entertainment, The Career Guru lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #TheNewRadio. Looking forward to seeing you soon. All the best to you. My name is Steve Yanovsky. I am the Career Guru. May God bless you. #Let's Career Up.